Okay, so this is a response to a recent video posted on the Bonobo3D channel. Again, I'll post the link in the description or pin it as a comment. Where this is at the 2017 AAP Intactivist protest, and this guy by the name of Steven Barendrecht is absolutely unloading on these weird freakazoid counter-protesters supporting circumcision. It was the most surreal thing I have ever seen. Oh my word! They had signs attacking Brother K and James Lowen, Bonobo3D, claiming that something about circumcisers and wood chippers. The exact quote had something to do with American action movies where the bad guys are getting butchered and massacred, and what if there was supposedly he said something about what if there's a movie where circumcisers meets wood chipper. And I know James contests that he ever said that. And then there's another quote that they don't like where he said, circumcisers deserve to be reveling about circumcision in prison along with other child molesters. But, I mean, amen. I mean, I don't know if you said it or not, Mr. Lowen, but boy, I thought you were just a mild-mannered guy with very... your interviews are wonderful. They're just great. But I really like you sucking it to him. That's the anger I like to hear come through. And again, this guy, Steven Barendrecht, that anger, we need to capture that anger and distill it and weaponize it. Ronald Reagan said, an intactivist ran over and stopped him from confronting. And I don't know if I agree with that, because it's not a bad thing. Ronald Reagan said that he liked his enemies, I suppose the Soviet Union, to think that he think he's a little bit crazy, right? I don't know if that's really great in terms of world politics and world leaders, but it might not be a bad thing for intactivists, for circumcisers to fear a little bit that some of their victims may have become a little unhinged from their mutilation. So I can appreciate that. They were they were attacking Brother K and Bonobo3D, and they had these other signs, they had this sign, "My son, my choice." I would have loved an intactivist to have walked over to them and put up a sign that said, "My body, my choice," or "His body, his choice." That would have been powerful. Another idea is, and I know other people have commented. I think James has commented. We don't want to feed the trolls, but it's not about feeding the trolls. Well, screaming them out is a different matter, but this sort of, going over there with your own sign, trolling the trolls, with like a sign that says, "His body, his choice," or "My body, my choice." That would be really powerful. Or you can take their position to the logical extreme. They were characterizing, that's another thing, they had these signs that were characterizing circumcision as the freedom and intactivists as the oppressor. I mean, the insanity of this. The circumciser cries out in pain as he cuts off parts of babies' penises. But you could go over there and you could take their position to the logical extreme and say, have a sign, "We want the freedom to cut off parts of babies' penises," and just take it through to its logical extreme. I think the 2016 election has proven to us that meme wars. I mean, the society revolves around memes. It's the kids are all about the memes, the dank memes, right? Uh, so you got to get out there and troll. And again, trolling can take different forms. I prefer the subtle trolling of what I describe later, but you can get out there, you can get angry too, bitch him out. Um, they they had apparently they had a kid out there with them, like a teenager maybe. The reports I'm getting, and I'm very perplexed by this. My entire theory was that these are paid shills or crazies put out there either by the AAP themselves or the local organized Jewish community, perhaps, or maybe a segment of the local Jewish community itself. Um, the presence of the kid there tends to suggest the latter. I mean, I have to say, there's no context there's no non-Jewish context in which a kid would ever be, in which parents and children would ever be talking about circumcision. There's no context in which a kid would have any reason to support it, unless it was wrapped up in their cultural, religious identity, which is why I suspect it may have been a segment of the Jewish community. I don't know. There's a streak in the Jewish community that thinks circumcision is funny, like it's an object of humor, whereas it's an object of deep shame and taboo among non-Jews, Gentiles. I read a book by Philip Roth. It's an alternate history where Charles Lindbergh becomes president, and there's this really off-color joke in the book where this older Jew tells his younger brother, his little brother, yeah, we circumcise babies, and then the foreskins get sent to Ireland and turned into Catholic priests. What? And I see these weird things on Israeli media and Jewish cultural icons and things that circumcision is like, it's like funny, or at the minimum it's like a conversation object occasionally, and that just isn't the case in non-Jewish America. The taboo is deeper than you can imagine. I suspect they have a website. It's like circumcisionchoice .com or .org. I think .com. I don't know if I'd recommend visiting it. I don't like to give page views. Maybe look it up on the archive, the Internet Archive or something. But it is so weird. It reminds me. I have to tell you, it reminds me of Edgar Shane's circumcision fetishist website. Before I think it went inactive around 2012, and then it went defunct. And then another website sort of resurrected it along the same lines, another different one. But this one has like the same sort of just obsessive. It's like you can practically see the guy's mouth watering thinking about infant circumcision as he writes this stuff. It's really weird. And of course they personally attack Brother Kay and James Lowen. They claim to have this doctor writing a guest piece about how they've been attacked for having, for circumcision, and I actually don't believe it. I believe that this is probably the work. It's probably masterminded by a single circumcision fetishist and some other useful idiots. But I think it's being orchestrated by a circumcision fetishist. Probably a single guy. And you know, I have always debated whether or not to confront these kinds of people and get their material pulled. But you know what? They're so fascinating. These people are going to make very interesting psychological case studies in the coming years. There's a guy on my channel named Nemopoly who is the craziest circumcision fetishist you will see, and yet it's so interesting. I want him to be psychologically profiled, his comments to be psychologically profiled in years to come. And of course, these people, they end up making asses of themselves. Nemopoly goes off on... He manages to keep it together most of the time, but his mouth-watering circumcision obsession occasionally comes through, and then people can see him for what he is, which is absolutely crazy. And again, this site, too. This site is so funny because it's basically... Oh, boo-hoo! We're losing on all fronts! Oh! That's the gist of this website. Finally, I had thought, I had sort of predicted, I suspected that something like this was coming. Maybe organized counter-protests, but not really organic, sort of shill protests in nature, not grassroots, either put on by the AAP maybe itself or the local Jewish community. And I tend to think what I was actually thinking, what I've been rather afraid of, is if they actually start to infiltrate the movement and start to plant crazies in the intactivist area of the protest. And we may have to guard against that in future years. Protests, typically the event organizers are actually given leeway by the authorities to say, you know, these people are not with us. These people are extremists, they're crazies, get them out of here into their own protest zone. I mean, of course, you can't stop them from speaking, but you can eject them. And keep that in mind. That may become necessary in future years. But I don't know, these crazies, it was just funny to watch. Yeah. So that's what I think about that. Again, I'll leave the link somewhere in the description of the comments, so take a look. I'm sure you already have, but tell me what you think about it. And tell me what you think about my analysis. That's what I'm really interested in. Okay, well, take care. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.